Good evening to all our listeners and viewers to our Global Women Enrichment podcast. Today we're honoring and celebrating International Day of Peace, which we celebrated globally on Tuesday, September 21st. That day is dedicated to world peace and the concept of absence of war and violence. The hope is that there is a temporary ceasefire from any combat in the world and that humanitarian aid will have access to help those who are impacted by war in all across the globe, many nations. It was first celebrated in 1981 and honored by many nations, political groups, and people. In 2013, the International Day of Peace was dedicated by the Secretary General of the United Nations to peace education. And peace education is thought of the most important key to prevent and to reduce war sustainably across the world. On the International Day of Peace, the Peace Bell, which is located at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, is wrong. And that bell was made from coins donated by children across the world except for Africa. And the Peace Bell is wrong at the headquarters on that day. And written on the bell is "Long live peace." So as I researched all that information to understand the concept of peace and what they wanted, it reminded me of a message I heard many years ago from one of my pastors, and he talked about that Christmas poem. It's written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and it was written in 1863. And the words of the original words of Longfellow's poem are, "I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then from each black, accursed mouth, the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the earth stones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. So ladies, as we contemplate the concept of the International Day of Peace and how we as Global Women Enrichment can contribute to peace in our world today, what are your thoughts about peace on earth, goodwill to men? How do you feel when we think about having peace? Venoria?
I wish we could celebrate it each and every day, 365 days of the year. And especially in this time, this culture that we are living in, there's so much hatred, seem to be so many different divisions. And the poem that you read, it's all about peace, peace towards your fellow men. It is so much better to me to have peace than to have division among each other. We are all God's creation, and it would be great if we all could come together for the betterment of mankind. We were all created in God's image. God stands for peace. And especially your leaders, they should basically promote peace versus division. I am not going to get political, but in this political environment with everything that's going on now, each of us need to take a step back and contribute a little piece towards one another. It goes a long way versus spreading division.
So it's everybody's responsibility.
Everyone's responsibility
to contribute to peace. Paola, what do you think?
Yeah, I piggyback on what you said, Venoria, because it's our responsibility. I was well, as you were speaking, and then I wonder what was happening in 1981 for this to be created and then have World Day, of peace. And frankly, we should have peace in our life every day. I practice it. I need it for my sanity. And then I hope everyone will do the same thing as we live our day, and then our families, we lead our community, children, and then to make this really a meaningful day. Hopefully, my thought is on September 21st, well, that was like on Tuesday, we learn from this, because thank you for introducing this to us, because this is something I neglected for years, that I've never paid attention to it, but we should maybe emphasize on it and then make a difference. Tell someone, remind someone that, International Day of Peace is coming, and then for us to think about, to reflect and do something about it. And really, frankly, I surely hope, what we're going through right now, these days, we're talking about the pandemic, we're talking about political activities, we're talking about personal life, how we can make a difference and change that. The world would be a better place to be, really, if we do that.
Very interesting. I think if we think about peace and what's going on globally, we know that countries are at war. We know in the Middle East, cousins are constantly fighting. There's always some disturbance in the Middle East. I'm thinking of our family in Israel and Palestine. There's always a war there. It's been for years. So globally, we know of that, in the African countries, in the Russian countries. We know that there is war and there is discomfort of many people. We know there were blasts, and in many places, children were affected, families were affected. We see political unrest all over the world, many nations. That's globally. And then if we want to bring it home to our country, we see the division in our country. We see what we have been through in the last few months and years. The pandemic globally has affected peace. Families have been torn apart. I shudder to think what all these families have gone through who have lost loved ones to the pandemic. And then there is war and division over the great vaccine. Forgive me, I'm a medical person. I follow the science. So there's a lot of division and war about the vaccine. And right now the healthcare workers are exhausted. It's a war because in the hospital, they see the ravages of the COVID virus and the choices people make not to have the vaccine. And while we respect that, it has created a war, a division, conflict. And then we move into our own homes and we see the conflict and the war that families go through every day. I'm sure each of you every day can think of someone whose family is ravaged by whatever it is. So I'm going to ask you, ladies, do you think we'll ever experience peace on earth? Goodwill to men?
I am a firm believer that peace does come from within. And if you are, not to get religious, but if you are a child of God, more than likely you have peace within yourself. And having peace within yourself, then you can, what should I say, that will transcend throughout your family and throughout those that you come in contact with. I'm reminded of this chorus of a song that says, there is peace in the time of trouble. There is peace in the time of storm. Though the world all around you may be raging, there is peace in the shelter of his arms. So if you are troubled and you see all this unrest going around you and it's just war and no peace, just look to God and find peace in the time of trouble. Look to him and find peace in the shelter of his arms. He's always there, and he is the one that gives us peace.
Excellent. You took me right to the next point. Can we have peace without God? What do you think, Paola?
I don't think we can, really. Personally, if I don't do my devotion, if I don't take my time and then be with God, spend time by myself and then to reflect, there's no way I can filter what He's giving me to someone else, to other people that, we are in the community, to filter and then to show them what it is to feel loved, to be loved. And then when you put the word peace, and then also I have to see when you were talking, Venoria, I also think of the word love, because you have to have it within you in order to transfer and filter peace to other people. And then definitely through time alone, to prayers, to be able to, within yourself. This is how you can recharge and then charge and be able to transfer. Yes, you need to have God in your life to do it.
Paola brought up the fact that love goes with peace. So the opposite of that is hate and war. So, as I've said to Venoria before, families break up, nations go to war, political issues and all the division we face is because of selfishness. Human beings are selfish. They want what they want for themselves and they will fight for it. And so we have war between nations, between countries, between political parties, between family members, all because someone wants what they want. And so, our dear listeners, we challenge you today from Global Women Enrichment Podcast to reflect on how you are going to contribute love and peace to your circle of influence. How can you bring God's love and God's peace to your own personal life, to your family, to your community, to your workplace? How can you contribute that peace to your nation? It's amazing. Just a couple months ago, in August, we saw the end of the Olympics and we saw all these countries come together and they celebrated, enjoyed each other, fellowship together through sports. We see it in the music world also. What are we going to do to contribute daily in our lives to peace? How can I live peacefully? How can you live peacefully? We invite you to be a part of that through Global Women Enrichment. Thank you all so much for listening to us today. Thank you for being a part of International Day of Peace. And we are grateful that you are going to join with us in spreading peace wherever you go. Good night.